complete measurable failure. Many of his own advisors and Wall Street allies view it as humiliating. It is something that will not only affect so many people in our country and around the world, but even if you look at it by narrow terms of just the president's record in history, this is now the blemish on his record, not only for the second term, but forever. The record is the self-inflicted choice to wipe out this much value in the stock market over just 2 days. We've been reporting how people are holding onto their hats during this tariff-inflicted meltdown over the last day. Well, tonight, as we end the week and have a whole other day of markets, the U.S. stock market has now lost $6.4 trillion in just 2 days. This is Trump's trade war. We are losing because of Trump, because of the choices he's made. The market's tanking. Recession fears deepening. And of course, it's the economy stupid. This is not something the Republican Party will be able to lie out of or to pardon their way out of or to trick people into thinking that all of the problems they have, from rising prices to job fears to rising costs, that they're not real or they're somebody else's fault. We're also seeing the fear of an anti-Trump, anti-MAGA political backlash as people start to see this candidate who promised to focus on your concerns in the economy has actually, according to many, sold out the American worker.
Markets look set to sell off as Donald Trump imposes the steepest U.S. import levies in a century. Stocks set to wipe out nearly $2 trillion in market value.
Taking a plunge as investors react to the sweeping tariffs.
Right now, angry heads are prevailing, and right now circumstances are prevailing that send stock prices much lower than where they are right now.
I struggle for what the president's game plan is. Because if you wanted to make the market crash, I think you would go with this game plan.
I haven't seen it yet. I guess it's close to panic.
This is the biggest policy mistake in 95 years.
95 years, and we can show you the top 500 companies. These are the largest companies that trade, and whether you trade in the stock market or not, as I've told you, this will affect you because these type of losses come with consequences and eventually job cuts and, of course, the price and inflation issues. This is down another 6% today. Another market index you've heard of, the Dow, shed over 5%. The Nasdaq, another big bucket of stocks, losing just about 6%. This is what they call an official bear market, where you are down a fifth from the peak. Trillions gone. The Fed now warning Trump's tariffs will juice inflation. Remember, that was the big issue, the high prices that helped him over the understandable concern with inflation and the way people blamed then-President Biden. Well, Donald Trump's serving up more inflation. That's according to the Fed, which is the independent arm of monetary policy for the federal government, and, of course, the risk of recession or slower growth. One of the top banks, J.P. Morgan, says we have tipped over to a recession now being more likely than not, 60%. That is, based on all the modules they have, it is more likely than not that Trump's choice to do these tariffs will give us a recession that otherwise was less likely. Indeed, before Trump came into office, though, same banks were putting the recession fears much lower, like 20%. The Financial Times, which is sort of the British version of the Wall Street Journal as a Bible for the market, says this is an astonishing act of self-harm by Donald Trump. Then their counterpart that I mentioned in the U.S., Rupert Murdoch's Wall Street Journal, quote, someone should sue to block his abuse of power. The Journal, now suddenly concerned about Trump lawlessness, something they have often minimized on other topics. China is hitting back, and boy, do they have the resources and the runway to do it. They're matching the whopping 30% tariff. Economics can be complicated, but this part is simple. I will tell you, America, if I can speak directly with you, you will be paying that tariff. That's exactly how it works, which is exactly why so many people, apart from our divided political times and partisan lenses, so many people, from nonpartisan experts to liberals who warned against this, to Republicans who privately warned against this, although they didn't use any power to try to stop Trump, to Wall Street experts who, of course, economists explain, yeah, a third, 34% spike, and you're going to pay it, because that's what Donald Trump decided for you. Welcome to Donald Trump's America and his economics. Now, on the politics side, Republicans, late, quietly, with a shuffle step, are starting to see how this could doom their party for even more than one election. Tariffs are upsetting the entire world economy. There's political peril for the party that brought them, and take one of the Republicans who for years has backed Donald Trump ever since they made a power pact when Trump became president the first time, but now a new tune from Ted Cruz.
If the result is our trading partners jack up their tariffs and we have high tariffs everywhere, I think that is a bad outcome for America. Tariffs are a tax on consumers, and I'm not a fan of jacking up taxes on American consumers, so my hope is these tariffs are short-lived.
Hope all you want. We are in deep. We've lost trillions. Even if Donald Trump can see the failure, can hear the markets and the television coverage and the press coverage, savagely noting the savage pain that he's brought to the United States, to consumers, to workers, as well as the rest of the world, that doesn't mean he has known to adjust after going this big and this deep. Other conservatives now admitting the problem.
I'm not going to bubble wrap it. What's happening is not good.
The same people that voted for you to play by the rules, put away money for taxes, put money away for retirement, are really feeling the brunt of collateral damage of this.
Look, I hate tariffs. I think they're stupid. I think they're backwards. I don't think that they help the American economy. The president has a different opinion.
I'm certainly concerned about what's happening right now in the markets, and I hope the administration is looking at that as well.
It's hard to find a Republican who's willing to do an interview and wants to defend this stuff, which tells you the free fall. Remember, there's been a lot of talk about the trade war and a lot of bluster and some stops and starts, which we covered, but this is now the red-hot core of it. These are these first 2 days when it hit this level with these global tariffs and the pain. And in these 2 days, Republicans starting to admit they have a Trump problem. Many of the people you just saw on your screen, they cater to a base that likes Donald Trump and identifies as MAGA, but there are even limits there because they can see that they could lose their jobs, their perch, their audience in the case of some of those commentators because people are paying this pain. When I show you bear market 20% crash territory, after that will come the firings and the job losses. Now, most of the elected Republicans, though, are not yet even trying to use the power they actually have. They can do interviews, but they actually have power in Congress. There's been this push for a Senate bill that would better control and limit Donald Trump's tariff instincts. Most Republicans haven't supported that. A handful did. Meanwhile, business owners are feeling it.
Experts predict prices across the board, including appliances, clothing, groceries, and cars, are expected to go up.
I'm a little afraid that the price will be going up, which means I hire car people with me, and I have 2 little kids, so that's going to be a little hard for me, too.
As a small business, we can't absorb that kind of increase in product. So we're having to reprice.
In one word, how you're feeling about what's happening in the stock market right now?
Anxious? Yeah. I mean, it's not too clear what's going to happen.
Terrified.
Why terrified?
Vulnerable people were always unsafe, and now they're made even more vulnerable.
And that's just a couple days in. There's also resistance. Protesters against the Trump-Musk agenda, as well as this economic pain, say that they have, and you can see the bullets here from this group Hands Off, they have now confirmed protests, often more than one, in every state in the country this weekend. So the chaos is real. The pain is real. And Donald Trump basically walked off the job. Think about this level of economic calamity. When COVID hit and you had the crash, it was everyone's focus. If you go back to another crash that was not caused by U.S. policy or a president saying he didn't care, but rather the sort of complex real estate bubble that burst in 2008, well, everybody was on the job. And Bush was convening meetings with the leaders of the economy, the banks that were so at fault for some of it, and the congressional leadership to figure out every single thing that could be on the table that they could act with all deliberate emergency speed. This is a president who claims emergency powers and wartime powers when there isn't a war, and then walks off the job right now today when we're in this emergency shedding $6 trillion. He went to Mar-a-Lago. He's scheduled to do a weekend golf tour. So he left work early for that, left the White House, wasn't physically on site to deal with any other type of meetings I mentioned that Bush did or talk to people in Congress or anything to even try to quiet the markets and show leadership. He's driving around his golf cart and also making money because it's his private business that's hosting the Saudi event. Markets may burn, but he's counting up his own money, just as I told you. He took a lot of crypto money and thought, oh, as long as he's doing okay, forget everyone else. If he lost $6 trillion, which he doesn't have, I think we would hear a very different tune, and he might even have time to go to work instead of ride around the cart. Now, how is this playing out in MAGA land? I showed you the leadership. We heard from Republicans who are running away, but you got to understand, one of the great political strengths of Donald Trump is the overestimation of his support. I'm sure you watch the news if you're hearing me, and there's been many, many reports and examples of folks who stand by him no matter what, or reverse themselves for him, or come back to him even after doubts. But then you also have to remember, he got fewer votes in 16. He got fewer votes in 20. He blew the midterms in 18. He remains one of the most polarizing and unpopular figures, and then even the base that he does have doesn't stand by him for everything, and certainly not something like this. We began by showing you some of those Republicans who are worried about how many of their supporters, even in red districts, are upset at this self-inflicted economic calamity. That's what it sounds like when your leader lies, ignores all advice, starts an economic global calamity, and costs you a ton of money.